Hello and welcome to Live from the Eagle's Nest. We're here in the beautiful eastern panhandle of West Virginia, near the town of Shepherdstown, looking at an American bald eagle's nest on the campus of the National Conservation Training Center. Hello, I'm Randy Robinson. Good to be with you today to talk about bald eagles. Glad you could join us. It's a hot day. We've had a hot couple of days here. And one of our fledglings just flew in a little while ago on cue. He had been hanging out in the shade over in the daycare trees a little bit ago, but he decided to fly back into the nest. He's got a shady spot there. One thing about this nest is it does have a good bit of shade, a little bit lower in the tree than the original nest did. But Rob, if we could take a look at the daycare trees on camera one for just a moment. Now the eagles had been hanging out, the two fledglings I should say, had been hanging out most of the morning here in the shade. Usually they're on the horizontal branch right about in the center of the screen. The adults like to perch there too. It's easy in and out. But today the two young ones were kind of over in the shady spot. A little bit hard to see. They do blend in with the shadows. So thanks to all for being with us today. Thanks to our partners, the Outdoor Channel, the Friends of NCTC, Bald Eagles 101, the Eaglet Momsters, and all of the Nature Chat folks who join us online. Great to have you with us today. All of our Eaglecam viewers who help us keep track of the nest action and post it online, and welcome old friends from 23 years ago and all of our new friends as well from all around the country and around the world. So go ahead, send your questions in anytime to the YouTube chat and let us know where you're viewing from. And want to say hello to some folks who've joined us here in the chat room from Southern California. Alan says hello. Annette down there in hot Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah, it's pretty hot here too. So Audrey is up in Terra Alta, Audrey's person. Terra Alta hopefully is a little bit cooler, a little higher elevation in Preston County, West Virginia. Folks were happy to see a great fledge season. Yeah, we're all happy about that. And Deb Stecyk says hello from the North Pole, northern Alberta, just a bit south of the 60th parallel. Yeah, it was a great nesting season. We're going to share some highlights of that thanks to Deb's videos. We'll get to them in just a little bit. Murph says hello from Staunton, Virginia. Or is it Stanton or Staunton? I never know which. At any rate, it's time to celebrate. we've had lots to celebrate this week. Canada Day was July 1st. Happy Canada Day to our neighbors to the north. And of course, we've got the U.S. Independence Day coming up on July 4th. So it's time to celebrate a successful nesting season here in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, and all across North America. Just a quick update on a couple of birds that we've been watching over the season. Hutch, the little fledgling up at near Pittsburgh at the U.S. Steel nest, has fledged along with his two siblings. They had three there. You might remember he was the little guy. He was about 2 weeks old, swallowed a artificial fishing worm, plastic worm, and a hook. Had to be taken to Morgantown to the Avian Conservation Center of Appalachia for surgery. The veterinary team did a successful surgery, rehabbed him for about 10 days. They put him back in the nest, and he's doing well. He fledged with his siblings. So that was a happy story. And Snow up in Traverse City, Michigan, is also doing pretty well. Snow lost his entire nest. The nest collapsed, and he fell before he was ready to fly. He broke a couple bones in his wing, but he was young enough that they were able to take him to a rehab center and get him bandaged up, and he's healing well. And now I've heard they just recently put him outdoors with a couple of adult eagles so he can practice his flying, and eventually, once he gets strong enough, they'll release him where his nest went down outside of Traverse City there. So bald eagles are really a conservation success story, but they still need our help, and so do other birds and other wildlife as well. So support your local wildlife rehabilitators wherever you live. Hopefully you have some rehab folks nearby, and they do a lot of great work, and they need our support. While we're talking about the anniversaries here, I want to share just a little piece I found just a few moments ago. This came from our Fish and Wildlife website. Josh Courtney, our senior advisor to the director, wrote a nice piece on, he broke down the last 250 years in kind of 50-year segments. And here's a segment of the last 50 years, 1926 to 1976. Not the last 50 years, but here, I'm in the wrong spot. 76 to 26. He titles it Restoration and Partnership. So now as we close the most recent 50 years of this 250-year story, conservation is defined by collaboration. The work has evolved from simply setting aside land to restoring habitats, recovering species, reconnecting rivers, maintaining migration corridors, and approaching stewardship at the scale of entire landscapes. Partnerships with states, local communities, landowners, sportsmen and women, conservation organizations, and tribal nations all have played essential roles in sustaining fish, wildlife, and their habitat. So I thought that was a nice summary of the last 50 years. And I've got a couple books here to share while we're on that topic. This is a great little book here. I like it a lot. It's written for middle schoolers, but even us older middle schoolers can enjoy it. It's The Bald Eagle's View of American History by C.H. Coleman. And it's just great, a great background starting off with the North American continent and the Native Americans and on up through the present time. So nice little read there if you can get a hold of that at your local library. And another great one, speaking of the last 50 years, is Return to the Sky by Tina Morris. Tina was our guest here a couple of times this past year at NCTC, and she wrote this book about her experiences at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology. She was a graduate student there, and back in 1976, she worked up at the Montezuma National Wildlife Refuge, and her job was to figure out how to raise young eaglets and keep them wild. And the whole effort was to return them to the sky, to restore populations of bald eagles into New York and into the mid-Atlantic states. So that is a great story, and really a nice summary of the last 50 years and the conservation success story of the bald eagles. So I want to say a few more hellos. Let's see, from Charlestown, Victoria, hello. Hello from Michigan and Paula in southwestern PA. They're near Cheat Lake. Let's see, Miss Gloria and Mustang, Oklahoma. That's a great name. All right, I've got a better system for doing the chat room today. Audrey says, I love Tina's book. Yeah, that was a great book, Audrey's person. Let's see. Well, we've got another anniversary to celebrate here, and that is the 20th anniversary of our Eaglecam. It was 2006 when we first started streaming the Eaglecam, and folks around the country could see it live. So at the end of the program, we're going to bring up a segment from our original broadcast. That was back in 2006. And you'll be able to see the original nest and our original pair here, Liberty and Bell. So we'll have that coming up in a little bit. But first, we're going to look at some Eaglecam highlights from this week. So our eaglets, now we can call them fledglings because they have fledged from the next nest. They are 97. Susie's 97 days old. RJ's 94 days old. So Susie tomorrow will be 14 weeks exactly. Tomorrow, that's Friday. So it's been a very interesting couple of weeks for these two, and we'll go back and look at some of the highlights. By the way, that's RJ that's on the nest right now. We can see those three little white marks, a little bit hard to see, but kind of like chevrons on a sailor's uniform. Three little white marks on his left wing as we can sort of see them. He's back in the nest there. We're looking down from above on camera 3. But Rob, if you want to bring up June 15th here, we'll go back and review. This is Susie's fledge, so some of you might not have seen this. This is June 15th, the first fledge. Susie was exactly 80 days old, or 11 weeks and 3 days. And there she goes. And RJ gets up and kind of wonders what happened. He didn't know we were allowed to do that. And he's looking at her flying around. We'll look at it one more time in slow motion. It's always fun to see them take off for the first time. Susie made a nice loop around the tree, and then she went down towards the river. And so now you can see this is the daycare trees in the background, the green forest there. You can see that white tail, that's the adult. Adults are pretty easy to see in a tree. They go big white head and a white tail. Juveniles, at least for the first several years of their life, are harder to see because they're dark and they kind of blend in with the shadows. But that was one of the adults that we just saw fly off there. And we call these the daycare trees because they're right behind our daycare center here on campus. In fact, some of you, if you've been on the Eaglecam for some time, you've heard the kids outside playing there in kind of the backyard, not too far from these daycare trees themselves. And that was Susie landing there for her first time. You know, young eagles, the fledglings are pretty good at taking off because they've practiced that in the nest a lot, jumping up and down. We've seen them with the wind, getting the feel of the wind, but they're not so good at landing. And so they do a lot of crash and burn before they finally get it right. So if we could go to, let's see, June 25th. This is RJ. You can see those three little white chevrons there on his left wing as we see him. Now this is black and white. It's early in the morning, not even 6 o'clock yet. So our cameras sense bright light and they turn to color when the light gets bright enough. But here he is. he's thinking about it. He's getting fired up and stretching his wings out and hopping around, and he knows something's going on. He's not quite sure what he's going to do today, but he's got the urge to do something different. He's still thinking about it. And he waited a little bit longer than Susie. Actually, about another 11 days longer. He liked hanging out in the nest. He was not in any hurry to leave at all. Okay, if we go to June 25th again. Now, this is time. Look at him looking over to the... Now, we saw Susie do the exact same thing a little more than a week before. He's looking around, and they both found a nice little perch to get on out there. So we call this branching. They're leaving the nest. He's trying to figure out where to go, but he takes a giant step for him and gets on the little branch. Now he's out of the nest, so he's branching. Sometimes, you know, depending on the tree, an eagle might have a convenient branch they can slide way out on. Our older original nest had a kind of a post, like a couple of stumps that they could get up on. But actually, a little bit later on in the morning, this same morning of the 25th, RJ climbed all the way up, almost out of view on the little branch that he was on there, kind of hidden by that big tree trunk or main limb of the branch. At any rate, all we could see of him after he got up a little higher was just his tail feathers. Okay, so if we could go to the 26th now, Rob. So this is the actual fledge day. So this is early in the morning, close to 6:07, and RJ is fired up there. It's a beautiful morning. And he's looking around, making sure the coast is clear, doing all the pre-flight checks that he's supposed to go through. And here he goes. Very nice takeoff. Heads over to the left a little bit. Now here's the same takeoff from above. This is camera 1 looking down onto the nest. The stump you see is the dead limb where the original nest was. There he goes. And now one more view. This is from the field cam. And look closely at the center of your screen in the sky part. You're going to see RJ take off from the tree right there. And there he goes, off to the river. And here it is in slow motion. Thanks again to Deb Stecyk for all of these videos. These are always fun. These are on Deb's YouTube page as well. So if you miss something, you can always go to Bald Eagles 101 or Deb Stecyk's YouTube page to see these videos. So there goes RJ. We are happy to see both the young ones fledge this year, and around the country, around North America, it's been a good season. We've had some good fledges, so very happy about that right before the 4th of July. So let's see, let's go to June 30th, and this is an interesting one. So there's that's Scout bringing in a meal, leaving right away. Now you see the mantling there. She's claimed that meal. Now there comes RJ right behind her, so both back in the nest. Now Susie's claiming that meal. She's kind of bossy, you know, pretty very protective of her food, but RJ's learning as he goes. He's getting better at you know, claiming food, and that's a survival tactic for bald eagles. They have to be aggressive. But now watch what's happening. Notice that these The both of them are looking up in the sky. So we saw a young juvenile, and they're calling out. They know it's not one of the adults. So we're guessing, we can't see this bird, but we're guessing it's a juvenile from somewhere else. Maybe a young eagle, could be a year old, 2 old, we don't know. We can't see it, but that's what they were looking at up there, was an unknown eagle to them, not recognizable as one of their adults that they always look for food. So now if we go to our second one, okay, here we go. This is also interesting. So Scout just brought in a fish there. Again, Susie claims it. And Scout takes off. Okay, here we go. June 30th again. So that was Susie flew in early in the morning, about 7:20. She's looking for food. There's none there. That was RJ. He flies a couple loops around the tree. And there he goes again, showing off. And Susie's looking for him. Kind of funny there. She's looking all around, wondering, what is that guy doing and where's he going? Doesn't he know there's a fish coming to the nest? Now she's calling him in, telling him it's time for breakfast. Okay, Rob, if you go to the next one, we're still here on the 30th. So a little bit later in the morning. Susie was hanging out. She decided she was getting impatient. She leaves, and just as she's leaving, one of the adults brings in a fish right there, a nice big fish, maybe a big catch. Susie turns around in mid-flight, and lots happening right here, but we'll play this again so you can see it. Susie comes in and claims the fish. That was Scout that brought it in. But if you noticed something happening on the left side, now Scout is looking for what happened to RJ. He's looking down, and now he's going to take off and fly over. He knows RJ didn't make it into the nest. RJ actually whacked into that tree and fell a little bit. He was okay, but Rob, if we could play that again, and we'll see if we can stop it and freeze frame. Yeah, we'll start over from the beginning. So this is Susie we're looking at. She's impatient, getting ready to leave. And then as she's flying out, she sees Scout coming in with a nice big fish. Here he comes. She turns around in mid-flight, right behind Scout. If you could stop it there, Rob, right there. Now you see where, look to the upper left. You see on the left, that's RJ. He tried to land in the nest but missed it, and there he fell. So he hit that limb on the left. You see him there on the left side of that limb. And oops, misjudged that landing. That's not uncommon. Young juvenile eagles, fledglings, do that a lot. They just haven't got the hang of landing. He was probably trying to grab a branch and just misjudged it, that's all. He fell down, found another branch. In the meantime, Susie's got the fish all to herself, and then Scout there, you can see his black spot on the back of his head, takes off, and he keeps an eye on RJ down below there. So A little bit later on in the morning, about an hour or so later, that's RJ flying back to the nest. So we knew he was okay. We saw him fly back to, not the nest, but the daycare grove. Now he lands on a kind of an angled limb. You see that limb's got about a 45-degree angle onto it. Kind of hard to stand on, so he's fluttering around a little bit on there. But he was okay. And that's where they like to hang out, especially when it's hot. They get into a shady spot. Or, you know, it's really hot like the last couple days, they might get down to the river, and now that they know how to fly, they can actually get into the river and get a drink and splash around and cool off. And I'm sure they enjoy that after being in the nest without any water for 3 months, sustaining themselves on the moisture in the food that they eat. So, some interesting highlights of the last couple weeks. Fledge week here, always interesting to watch. So we'll go back to the live nest now. Looks like RJ is there looking for a food delivery, probably. I'm going to go into the chat room and see if we've got some questions here. And Jay Jones says hello from Preston, West Virginia. RJ keeps practicing. They all have mishaps in landing, especially. Oh, so Audrey's person is asking, are the juvies being fed off the nest now too? Probably. We don't know for sure. We can't see what goes on off the nest or off the camera. But if they aren't already, they soon will be. They do associate the nest with food, so they come back to the nest and they hang out in that tree by daycare because that's the flight path from the river, and so they can see very quickly a food delivery coming in and rush over to the nest whenever that happens. But yeah, they need to learn to fish and hunt on their own, hunting in the fields, fishing in the river. And as the summer goes on, we'll see less and less of them at the nest, and more they're going to be down at the river learning to take care of themselves and become self-sufficient. So we're lucky this year. We've probably seen the young ones hang around a little bit more than we have in past years. I don't recall lately seeing them in the nest as much as we have for the last, since they fledged over the last 2 weeks here. So that's always nice. We're happy to see them. And although this is going to be our last broadcast of the season, live from the Eagle's Nest, we are going to keep all three of the cameras running throughout the season. So we'll keep it online just as we have done. It's fun to see them come in and out whenever they decide to show up. And we do have other visiting birds. I know a lot of people, like myself included, like to keep the audio on. We can hear the birds singing in the mornings. It's just nice to have a soundtrack. But we'll see some unusual birds. So over the years, we've seen great blue herons coming in to the nest. We've seen all different kinds of songbirds and hawks and owls and you name it, lots of different birds. And we've even seen a black snake up there one year. I think it was 2019. The day I think it was Jefferson fledged, a black snake came up, pretty good sized black snake too, came up out of the middle of the nest, and he wasn't looking for Jefferson. He was looking for a squirrel carcass, and he got that squirrel carcass and left. But Jefferson, the young eaglet at the time, didn't know what to think. He'd never seen a live snake before, and luckily for the black snake, the adults weren't around, so he got his squirrel carcass and left intact. So let's see, got a couple more questions here. where are the field cameras located? Sometimes we get pictures or videos from those. Yeah, we have just one field camera, and that it's on the daycare building. It's not a great view. It's that's the field camera there. That's what we're looking at. So it's kind of on the roof of daycare, at the peak of the roof, but it's looking directly into the sun, into the south. So a lot of times we have a lot of glare. You can't see directly into the nest. It's okay when the leaves are off the trees, but as soon as the leaves come on, you can't see a whole lot. But anyway, that's where the field cam is located. And it doesn't stream. We don't have it on the network. But the 3 cameras that you see online, those are all on YouTube and on streaming from the outdoor channel, and they're on the network. 2 cameras looking down, and one, this is camera 2, looking transversely towards the river. The very uppermost camera is located on the very top of the tree where the old nest used to be, about 15 feet above the existing one. And we can turn it, we can look out to the view you see now at the daycare trees, or we can turn it down and get a nice close-up of the nest when we need to. Deb's asking, any plans to add more cameras? We love having the 3 viewing opportunities, but it would be nice to have an expanded view of the attic, daycare tree, or possibly a river cam. Well, I doubt we'll ever get a river cam just because it's logistically tough, but we are going to, when we go up and do the tree work, usually we do that in the fall. We might try to do it a little bit earlier this year. We do definitely want to get that lure. That fishing lure is still in the nest. We saw it brought in a couple weeks ago. We want to get that thing out. Right now it's buried, as we haven't been able to see it anymore, but regardless, we're going to dig it up and get that thing out of there. And then we're going to maybe reposition a couple cameras for better views. But yeah, we'll see what we can do. But you know, it's tough. I went down to the river a couple nights ago to see if I could find their fishing spot. And we still haven't found it, really, you know, and I'm sure each of the adults have different spots, but it's very hard to see them with all the sycamore down there. You see a white spot, you think it's a bald eagle, and it's sycamore bark. Rob, I've got a hum coming from the speaker in here. Can you turn that off? I don't know what it's coming from. At any rate, yeah, it would be pretty difficult to put a camera down there. We don't have a power source. We don't have Ethernet. So there are, you know, multiple complexities there. And it is pretty tough to see them. Like I said, I was looking for about 3 hours out on the water. I paddled from Dam 4 down toward Shepherdstown. I did see an adult eagle. Not sure if it was Scout. Could have been another adult. But he flew over my head, and I just saw him for a few seconds. He did go and land in a tree, though. So that was nice to see. Okay, any more questions coming in? Go ahead and put them in. And let me see what else we have coming in. And I think we've answered them all. So now we've got a special treat here. Before I sign off, I want to say thanks to everybody that's tuned in over this nesting season. It's been great to share the adventures of this eagle family with you here at the National Conservation Training Center. And I'm glad we had a successful season here, as well as for other nests around the country and around North America. I want to say special thanks to Deb Stecyk, Tasha Perez, Kelly Reiner, and Paul Kolnik for all of their photos, videos, nest updates, keeping the spreadsheet going. We couldn't do it without all of you keeping us updated. And of course, Brett Billings and Rob Garfinkel here in the NCTC studio. And We're going to close out this season with a 20-year video. This was the very first video we did from the nest tree. This was back in 2006, 20 years ago. And this was a satellite broadcast titled Eagles of the Potomac. And it's the first view inside the nest that Liberty and Bell had built. They were the original pair. The original nest was built in the fall of 2003, and like I said, about 15 feet above this upper one. And then they had young ones in 2004 and 2005. Then in the fall of 2005, we installed the first cameras and then started streaming for the first time in 2006. So this video was hosted by Laura Jones and Steve Wonderly, both here at the NCTC, and it went out by satellite to middle schoolers across the country. And let me see if we've got a couple questions in here before we get to the video. I think we've got them all. So, so this video, you'll see Laura welcoming and Steve talking about the eagles. They'll talk about Native American ceremonies, their reverence for the bald eagle, the history, the recovery. You'll see some bandings. You'll see some feedings of young eaglets with an artificial adult bald eagle, I should say, kind of a puppet kind of device. So I want to wish you all a great Independence Day weekend, and be on the lookout for our national bird flying out nearby. Hope you get a glimpse of one somewhere. And coming up, enjoy Eagles of the Potomac.
I'm Laura Jones, and welcome to the National Conservation Training Center in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. This is a gorgeous sunny day we've got here today. I hope you have it where you are too. So if you see me get a little squinty, it's because the sun is so bright. The birds are chirping, it's just fabulous. Well, I'm going to be your host for today's live interactive broadcast, Eagles of the Potomac, View of a Nesting Nursery. And boy, do we have a cool view for you. It's really exciting. We're located along the Potomac River, which is perfect habitat for eagles. And we have a pair of bald eagles that have been calling this place home for the last 3 years. Now, what's unique about our view this year is that perched high in that tree, above the nest and 90 feet above the ground, is a small little camera that enables us to give you a bird's eye view into the nest, where you can see the adults and 3 little eaglets that hatched just about a month ago. Now, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to soar with the eagles, learn some very cool facts. You'll have a chance to see more of our eagles. You'll have an opportunity to fax or email us a question, and pay attention because I may have a question or two for you too. So what do you say we get going on our eagle adventure?
A presentation of the United States Fish and Wildlife Service.
Welcome back, and once again, we're glad you could join us. Now, I've said that we have a lot to cover, but actually we're only going to uncover the subject of eagles today. There's so much to learn. It's vast as the sky that the eagles fly in. So think about a present. When you take the lid off, you just uncover the present, but you have to dig in it to find out what's there. Well, we're going to uncover it and hope that you dig in and find out more later on your own. Today you're going to learn about the eagle's role in Native American culture. You'll learn about some of the struggles that the eagles have endured, and you'll also learn about their magnificent comeback. You know, our national symbol is really popular. Let's face it, eagles are everywhere. I bet you could think of a few places that you've seen eagles. Companies are named after them. They're on our money, right? And on flags, even sports teams are named after eagles. But I bet you didn't know that an eagle landed on the moon.
All through the long history of mankind, the eagle has been revered as a symbol of power and freedom. In the United States, the bald eagle, our national symbol, is on our money, our stamps, our presidential seal, on our flagpoles. It's even been to the moon.
The eagle has landed.
This majestic bird, unique to this continent, is portrayed on countless products and logos, featured on the letterheads of innumerable businesses and associations, endlessly sculptured and painted, all trying to harness the strength, gracefulness, and freedom that the eagle symbolizes. But to many Native Americans, the eagle, both the bald and the golden eagle, is much more than a logo or a product name. The eagle has, for centuries, been a sacred element in their lives.
To Indian people, the eagle is sacred. And it's all Indian tribes, all 500 tribes that exist today. The eagle is a sacred animal. It means so much to each one of the tribes. And it has different meanings for each of the individual tribes. And it's a very special relationship that has been a part of Indian religion since the beginning of time.
Unfortunately, for much of America's history, the eagle's symbolic stature as an icon of power, freedom, and spirituality did little to protect it from being killed by poaching, poisons, pesticides, electrocution, and habitat destruction. By the late 1930s, eagle populations in the continental U.S. were in a steep downward spiral. Alarmed at the sad state of the nation's symbol, Congress passed the Bald Eagle Protection Act in 1940, later amending the act in 1962 to include the golden eagle. In 1973 came the Endangered Species Act, which listed the bald eagle as endangered. These federal laws protected eagles and other species in trouble, while recovery efforts were made to increase their numbers. The laws, backed by stiff fines and even jail, prohibited anyone from killing, harassing, or even possessing as much as a feather from a protected species. Not even state or federal officials are allowed to handle or possess listed species without a written permit from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service.
Okay, so what agency is it that grants the permits to have and handle eagles? That's right, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And what role does the eagle play in Native American culture? Right again, it's for religious and ceremonial purposes. Well, the Fish and Wildlife Service operates the National Eagle Repository, and that's where eagles are sent and stored. And it's from this location that they're distributed upon request to Native American tribes. Now, eagles are gorgeous, incredible creatures. There's no doubt about that. But without the work of a lot of people, we might not have eagles today. You see, eagles were threatened with extinction, largely due to a chemical called DDT. Now, DDT was considered a miracle insecticide. That means it killed bugs. And it did. It killed mosquitoes and lice that carried malaria and typhus. But then we discovered the effects that this seemingly harmless chemical was having on bird reproduction due to thinning of eggshells. In 1962, Rachel Carson, who was a Fish and Wildlife Service marine biologist and a nature writer, wrote a book called Silent Spring, meticulously documenting the effects of DDT. There's a famous chapter in this book called The Fable for Tomorrow, where Rachel talks about an American town that all of life has been silenced due to the effects of DDT. Rachel Carson's book, Silent Spring, set the stage for the environmental movement. How about we uncover some more of this story?
Adopted as our national symbol in 1782. There were an estimated 25,000 to 75,000 of them nesting in the lower 48 states. In 1967, they were officially declared an endangered species. The greatest threat to their survival was an environmental contaminant, DDT. This pesticide, which was sprayed on farm crops and used to eradicate mosquitoes in public places such as pools, washed into lakes and streams. Contaminated fish were eaten by many kinds of birds, and some had problems with reproduction. The DDT weakened their eggshells, and so they often broke before hatching. In 1972, the government banned the use of DDT in the United States, and bald eagles began their comeback. Some were taken into captivity for breeding, while natural nesting sites like this one were protected. Here in Kansas, biologists are going to great heights to measure and tag young eagles, which have black feathers until they reach maturity. The trip back up the tree is always a bit awkward. By the mid-1990s, 4,500 nesting pairs lived in the wild, so their status was changed from endangered to threatened. With continuing help, bald eagles are on their way to recovery.
You've just seen some of the amazing work that conservation professionals have gone to help protect our eagles. We're going to see some of the lengths and heights that they go to also. So this summer, we just learned about Rachel Carson and DDT. Why don't you visit your local library and pick up a book or two about eagles? Why not read Silent Spring or some of the other books that Rachel Carson wrote? I guarantee that you'll discover a deeper appreciation for nature, and you just might see the natural world like you've never seen it before. Well, we still have a lot to cover, but we only have a little less than an hour, so we can't stay out here all day. Let's take a look at some recovery efforts that have taken place in order to protect eagles. When we come back, we'll be in the studio with a very special guest who knows some amazing things about eagles. And then we'll be ready to take your questions by fax or email. And don't forget, I may have a question or two for you too. So we'll see you back in the studio.
Primarily, the Sutton Avian Research Center worked throughout the southeastern United States, and we released eagles into Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, North Carolina, and Oklahoma. So what we did was we went down to Florida, which has over 600 nesting pairs, and we would pick up eggs out of the nest, which is much easier said than done, I can assure you. We would have to climb these 100-foot trees, and we would collect around 60 eggs per year. And we would then drive them back in a motorhome. From the time that we picked them up, we had to have them in an incubator because they have to be kept within 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit in order to hatch them. We would then raise them by using puppets, which we fed the young eagles with, and so they would not be tame. We wanted them, of course, to be wild, and then we wanted them to be imprinted on their own image. Then we built 30-foot towers that were barred on top, and we would put the young birds in there at about 8 to 10 weeks of age, and they would stay in there 2 to 3 weeks, and during that time they become fixed on that location. we would release the eagles after they had spent a couple of 3 weeks in the tower. They'd have radio transmitters on them, and they would home back daily for 2 or as much as 3 months to this tower and get food that we placed out for them. And in doing that, they learn to hunt on their own. They don't need to be taught by their parents. It's genetically programmed. And they would eventually disperse. The first year after we released birds, say here in Oklahoma, we had 1 bird back in the spring, but it wasn't long before we had birds nesting again. And now, here in Oklahoma, where we had no eagles nesting at all, we've now got about 33 pairs back nesting as a result of our release program, and there's similar numbers in the other states where we work, so we're very proud of that.
Well, thank you for being with us in the studio. And as promised, our special guest is here. I'd like to introduce you to Steve Wonderly. Steve works here at the National Conservation Training Center. He's a wildlife biologist.
Thanks for having me here, Laura. I hope everybody's ready to learn some fun eagle facts today.
We're so glad that you could be with us. Now, one of the reasons that we asked Steve to be with us is because Steve did his master's degree on eagles. So most of the students that are watching us today are in 5th through 7th grade. So how much schooling would they have to go through once they graduated 12th grade in order to get their master's?
They have a little ways to go yet. They're going to have to go through 4 years of college, and then graduate school for a master's degree usually takes about 2 years. So total from 1st grade till they finally graduate will be about 18 years.
So a lot of school, but you also told me that you did some fascinating work and learned some really amazing stuff when you were doing your master's degree.
Right. When you're doing a study like that on an animal like a bald eagle, you get to learn a lot of things, and hopefully we'll pass that along to some of the students today.
That's great.
From up above the eagle nest itself, and you can see into the nest, there's 3 young in the nest. Looks like right now they're basically all resting in there.
Okay.
So they probably ate just a little while ago, and so they don't do a lot in there, but eat, sleep, and rest.
And we noticed that the one at the higher end has darker feathers than the other 2.
Right. The 2 at the bottom are a little bit younger, and they just still have their downy feathers, and the one that's a little bit older is starting to grow in his regular feathers.
And what's amazing is that they're only like 2 or 3 days older, and
yeah,
yet that
not much
changes
difference.
that much.
Not much difference in the age of these birds. I think it's 6 days between the oldest and the youngest.
Now, they're also when they're alone, so do their parents really leave them unattended?
No, if you saw in the earlier video, the eagle above your shoulder was sitting up on top of that tree, and it was able to look down into the nest and keep an eye on the young, so nothing can come in there and attack them.
Okay, so they're really not home alone.
Right.
So to speak. Well, let's go back and look at the video from early February. So they had been here since November, working on the nest, and now in February they've laid some eggs. So let's take a look at that, and we'll talk to you about what we're seeing at that time.
Right. This is about February because, like we said, but you'll see in a second here that 3 eggs are already in the nest. But you'll see also that one eagle is working on the nest. They keep the work up on the nest all during the nesting season, but they start the work on the nest way back in November. And in this part of the country, that's when they start. The male usually brings in the sticks, and the female will arrange them how she wants in building a nest.
And this is a nest that they've had for 3 years. So each year they come back, they're just remodeling or adding to the existing nest.
Right. Some of the eagles far up north in Canada and Alaska, they'll start their nest building in September of the previous year, because then when it gets very cold, they're not out there actually in the nest, they're at the feeding grounds.
Okay.
And then when they come back, they continue the remodeling.
And this does have 3 eggs, and is that a usual brood, or?
It's on the high side. Usually
Okay.
the eagles will lay 1 or 2 eggs, and occasionally they'll lay 3 eggs. And we're lucky this year we got 3 here at NCTC.
We've got triplets.
We've got triplets.
And I think in this scene, they've just gotten off the nest because we've had one that's just hatched.
Yeah, what you can see is both the eagles were backing up looking at the eggs, because the one that was sitting on it could feel something happening, and it backed up. And if you look closely to the left side, you'll see one little head sticking up out of an eggshell, and it's moving around a little bit. So this is the first egg that was hatched here this year. It's obvious that both of them know what's going on. You can see the way they look like proud parents looking at the eggs. They'll start feeding them right away.
Okay.
Once the, I think we'll probably be able to see here in just a second, once the egg hatches, they'll start feeding the young right away.
And I know if they pay close attention, they'll notice that when they're walking around the eggs or the eaglets, they actually curl in their talons and are walking sort of on balls.
Right, their talons are very sharp, and if they didn't do that, they might puncture the egg or hurt the young. So they close their feet up when they walk around. You'll see here also, this female's rocking back and forth. And what was happening there was she was trying to get the eggs up close to her body. They actually pull some of their downy feathers out of their chest portion so that they can get their warm skin right up against that egg. And that's what she was doing. She was rocking back and forth to make sure those eggs got into the warm spot.
And that's what they call the brood patch.
That's what's called a brood patch.
That's great. So here she is. She's on it. She's been rocking.
I believe this is where we're going to have the second egg hatch. You can see again, she realizes something's going on underneath and stands up and gets out of the way so that young eaglet can hatch out of that egg. And if you watch closely, you'll be able to see two heads this time. It's obvious that she knows something's going on because the way she got up off the eggs.
I had never known that about the brood patch. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, just about all birds do that because their feathers are such a good insulator. They not only keep the cold out, they also keep the heat in. And so to get that warm skin up against the egg, they have to have a bare patch of skin to be able to do that.
And we've been noticing too that before she was laying the eggs and now that the eggs are, the chicks are, or eaglets are starting to hatch, that indentation has gotten deeper. So they've built up kind of a bowl
right.
that they're in.
If you notice in the very middle of the nest there, it's all soft materials to lay up against those eggs. It's not the hard sticks. There's feathers lining that. There's grasses. That's the sort of thing that they'll have in the interior of the nest. I think what we're going to see here in just a second is actually the third egg hatching. Okay. And again, you can see she obviously knows something's going on and backs up off of the eggs.
Gives her wings a little stretch.
If you watch real close, I think you'll be able to see the third head pop up. These were actually taken about 5 days apart because the eggs were laid about 5 days apart.
Okay.
So they didn't hatch this close together. This is just the video footage.
And the eggs were laid in February and hatched in mid-March.
35 days later. And now you can see all three little baby eaglets in there. Look at the size of them compared to what we were just looking at with the live camera, and that's only 5 weeks ago.
That's just incredible. And we've been talking about, too, what perfect habitat this is, located along the Potomac River, that will probably help the eaglets because there'll be plenty of food.
Right. To have 3 eaglets in a nest, that's going to be a lot of food they're going to need. And being along the river, the eagles prefer fish as a food. So they usually nest within about a quarter mile of a river or a lake or the ocean so that they have plenty of food supply. But they'll also eat other things too. I think we'll see a little bit later here that they'll bring in squirrels or rabbits or anything else that small animals that they can catch along the ground also.
And we see her feeding. Sometimes we'll notice something that's hanging from her mouth, a piece of food.
If we can back up the tape just a minute there, I think you might be able to see how they keep the nest clean.
Okay.
Because you have to wonder.
Think we saw what happened?
You've probably had bird poop on your car, so you got to wonder how this nest keeps clean. Well, if you watch real closely, you'll see how they try to make sure they get it over the edge of the nest.
And this is from the eaglet.
This is from the little baby eaglet. Just about now.
Oh, see that little thing come out?
Way off the nest. That's why when they get a little older, you don't want to stand under an eagle nest.
Right, because we've seen now that they're older, it shoots out like paintball.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
So now we see a fish there in the nest.
Mm-hmm. And
we see that this one has something in its talons.
Right. It's got, looks like it's probably another fish that it has there. And it will begin tearing it apart with its beak and feeding the young eaglets. This is a little bit later with our footage, And you'll notice a mark on top of the head of this eagle. This is the female, which is a little bit bigger than the male. And it looks like she's got an injury in the top of her head. We don't know, of course, how this happened. Nobody saw it, but we're speculating that possibly another female came in to try to take her territory.
And we know if they live around the Washington, D.C. area, or maybe you've heard this in other areas, but we had a pair of bald eagles at the Wilson Bridge in Washington, D.C., and indeed a rogue female came in and attacked the female and severely injured her, that she was in the hospital and being rehabilitated. So
right.
They had eggs in there, and so now they're wondering what's going to happen. So it's possible that this same thing.
This happened on our nest, we noticed, a couple days earlier than what happened down near Washington. So it could have been the same eagle even that was trying to invade territory here.
Huh, jeez. We noticed some fish down there in the corner again, and the three little
Now
eaglets
remember, the eaglets are keeping warm underneath that eagle there, but they're poking their heads out here. They want to see what's going on.
So it looks like Daddy is sitting on them.
And he just snapped at a fly going by there.
Okay. And both parents do tend to the nest, bring food.
Right. And especially as they get older, both parents will be bringing food almost nonstop into the nest. The eagle here just flew up. It was hard to see what it had. This may be where it has a squirrel.
And we were talking about how fast they grow, so they need all this food.
Right.
So they're adding how much weight a day?
They're adding about 4 ounces of weight a day. About every 4 or 5 days, they'll gain a pound in weight. And like we said, at 5 weeks, they're already a foot tall. An adult eagle is about 3 feet tall. So they're already about a third the size of an adult eagle.
Now, we were mentioning that she had a spot. We can see it again there without the feathers. But they have a lot of feathers.
They've got a lot of feathers. They've got 7,000 feathers total on an eagle.
And those will grow back.
Yeah, if you notice the head, the white head, they call them bald eagles. Well, bald actually came from Old English. It was spelled B-A-L-D-E, and that meant white back in the olden days. So that's
people
why
wonder
these
why
named,
they call them
right,
bald
because
eagles.
they're not really bald. It just meant white. They were white-headed eagles.
Yeah, and with 7,000 feathers, they're obviously not bald.
Right. Here's both parents feeding them at the same time. And as we said, as they get older and older, you'll see more of this because it's going to take both parents to keep these young eagles alive. Has to be a lot of food in the area for 3 eagles to actually survive.
And they really have brought in just a wide variety of food. We've noticed rabbits.
I guess the rabbit here that they've got. They like turtles, they like muskrats, but again, fish is the most common food. There's one flying off. The male brought that food in, and the female's feeding it.
So again, we see how big they've gotten.
Right. This is probably, 2 weeks ago? I think it was probably about 3 weeks old at this time. And it still likes to keep warm under mom's wing, though.
Okay.
And if you notice here in just a second, it's going to sort of insist that it gets back under mom's wing. This was probably a chilly morning, and this is when they still have to keep warm under mom.
Okay.
Okay.
Here it's going to push its way under here. There it goes. Now it's nice and warm. She's going to move over, let them get in there.
Oh, that's a great shot of all of them. Now a little bit bigger.
Yep.
2, 1.
It's just always so fascinating to watch them.
Yeah, did you see the expanse of the wings as that eagle flew up into the nest?
Right.
They've got an 8-foot wingspan, which is huge.
Well, when you think about it, their wingspan, if they were tall, is taller than a pro basketball player.
Right, right. It's as wide as a car.
Which is, I mean, when you think about that and you think about an eagle, that is incredible to realize. Okay. And we have some more questions that have come in, right, Randy? Great. Oh, there we go.
Yeah, the adult
There's-
just came back on the nest here. I didn't see if it brought in any food, but I don't think it's fed them for a little while, so it
And it
probably
looks
did.
like the children were behaving themselves, so
They get to eat. Yeah, it looks like she did bring in something there.
the rest of the question.
Looks like she's getting ready to tear apart. That's probably a fish again. It's hard to see. It looks like a white underbelly there. Looks like she's getting ready to tear some of that apart and start feeding the young. A lot of times what she'll do is just feed one young till it's full and then go on to the next, and sometimes she'll take turns. So we'll have to look and see what she does this time. Look at the darker, bigger one. He's going to try to get in there and get some food right away. The one that's the darker one is almost old enough to start tearing some of that food apart on its own. But you can see it's still taking the food from the mother or from the adult. I'm not sure if that's the male or female right now.
And we've got some more questions too.
Okay.
So why don't we go ahead and answer those? We can keep it on the live cam if you want. How can the babies stay under their mom without suffocating?
It looks like they would, doesn't it? I've often wondered that myself, but they can. I think a lot of times the mother actually has her feet down into that nest material and is sort of standing. It looks like she's lying right on them, but she's actually got her feet down in that nest material and is, pushing up a little bit so that they're not suffocating.
So they're in
underneath
like
them.
a little air pocket,
Right.
so to
Right.
speak. That's great. And here we've got some more questions. All right, this is from, let's see, I can't read the name. Cheryl. Looks like Cheryl Meltzer in California. Cheryl writes, how far will an eagle fly in one day?
I'm not really sure the answer to that question. I know that a lot of times, especially the young eagles, shortly after they leave the nest, a couple months actually after they leave the nest, they're known to fly all over the country. Like an eagle from Maine will fly down to Florida, and then will fly out to Missouri, and then we'll fly up to Wisconsin. And it's just like a human adolescent wants to get out and just sort of see the sights.
Explore.
Well, the eagles do the same thing. And I'm sure that they can fly well over 100 miles in a day.
Okay. And then Bob Herring, it looks like, who's out in Montana. How much weight can an eagle lift? We've talked about
We talked
this.
about that. About half of their body weight, and their average weight is 10 to 12 pounds. So they can lift something that's 5 or 6 pounds.
Ah, now here's a tricky one. And this one is from Thomas Neal, and I think it's Neal, might be Nell, Thomas Nell, in, looks like Texas. Which states have the most eagles?
In the lower 48, Florida has the most by far. The Chesapeake region has a lot. Areas up around Wisconsin have quite a few, and the Pacific Northwest has quite a few. Alaska, though, has the most by far.
Okay. And then this last question that we have is, where is the nest located that you're showing us? This question is coming to us from Florida, from Robert, sorry about this, I can't read the writing. Robert, looks like Olive, maybe. Robert Olive.
The nest that we're looking at is on the National Conservation Training Center property, and we're in Shepherdstown, West Virginia. If you look at a map of West Virginia, and there's an eastern panhandle that sticks out between Maryland and Virginia, and we're on the far eastern part of that eastern panhandle.
And we're in the studio on the site at the National Conservation Training Center. So as the crow flies from where we're sitting to where this nest is about, how far?
200 yards, maybe?
So we're pretty darn close
pretty
to where the
close.
nest is. But this year it's just been so fascinating to be able to have that camera up in the nest, which was quite a feat for the company that put it up there for us to get it up there 90 feet above the ground, but it's enabled us to have views like this that you don't normally get to see.
Right. And these eagles actually, when you look at the camera, you can see the barn in the background. These eagles actually built their nest right next to a barn. And we talked a little bit about the eagles down in Washington that built the nest right next to the Wilson Bridge, where they're having a lot of construction. And when the eagles were such a low number back in the 1970s, they were very susceptible to disturbance. So they were picking areas that were very isolated, but now that numbers have grown, they're picking areas that the disturbance doesn't seem to bother them so much.
Okay. And I just wanted to mention that the question that came in, how can the babies stay under their mom without suffocating, was from Meredith Rinker from Lander, Wyoming. And I've been to Lander, Wyoming. They have an outdoor school there, and it's a really neat place. Actually got to stay at a nature conservancy sanctuary on the Sweetwater River out there by Lander. Well, thank you again for being with us. We hope you're with us for future broadcasts, and have a great day. And thank you as we come to you from the National Conservation Training Center in Shepherdstown, West Virginia.